Hi everyone, my name's Jo Southernwood, and today I'm going to talk to you about the SPEEDIER project and discuss some of the barriers to energy efficiency that are faced by SMEs wanting to improve their energy management. So a little bit about me. I work for the International Energy Research Centre. We're part of the Tyndall National Institute, and my area of specialism is energy management and accelerating the energy transition. I've got 3 projects running at the moment, all in that topic area. So Novice looks at combining energy efficiency and demand response services to improve the business case for building refurbishments. SPEEDIER is looking at a one-stop shop for energy management services for small and medium-sized enterprises. And HP for All, stands for Heat Pumps for All, is looking at upskilling the heat pump value chain to ensure that uptake of heat pumps in member states in Europe increases over time. Today I'm going to talk to you about the SPEEDIER project. This is specifically looking at SMEs and how we can assist them to undertake energy audits and then to implement the energy efficiency recommendations that result from those. So to give you a bit of background, the European Union has an energy efficiency target of 32.5% improvement by 2030, which has come directly from the Energy Efficiency Directive. Now, part of the Energy Efficiency Directive is Article 8, which requires large companies to undertake an energy audit. One of the little known facts about Article 8 is that there is also a clause within that article that requires member states to develop schemes and programs to assist SMEs to undertake energy audits and then to implement the energy saving measures that result from those audits. Now, that's been in place for a number of years, but it's not so well known compared to the requirement for large businesses to undertake audits. So small and medium-sized enterprises, why do we need to focus on those businesses and those buildings? They typically account for more than 99% of all businesses in Europe and indeed all businesses around the world. So there are hundreds of thousands of businesses consuming energy around the globe, and collectively they account for 13% of total energy demand. To put that into context, if SMEs were a country, they would rank number 3 in the list of global energy demand, behind only China and the United States. So they really account for a very large proportion of energy consumption if you look at it in that perspective. And it means that they have a really massive potential to contribute to achieving the EU's energy efficiency targets and reducing global energy consumption. The problem that we have, of course, is that this large energy consumption is distributed over many, many businesses of many different sectors and many different sizes, ranging from 1 or 2 employees to up to 250 employees. They may have a small turnover less than 1 million a year, right up to a relatively large turnover of up to 50 million a year. So the challenge is distributed, and it's different depending on the sector that the SME is in and the size of the business, which makes providing them with support quite a challenge. And that's the challenge that SPEEDIER is. So the SPEEDIER project aims to try to solve some of these challenges and try to help member states to provide these services to SMEs by training up what we're calling SPEEDIER experts. And a SPEEDIER expert is an energy professional, so an energy auditor or an energy consultant, or someone who is able to provide advice on the kinds of actions and activities that SMEs could take to reduce their energy consumption. And they would provide that service as an outsourced energy management service to SMEs. So the idea here is that most SMEs don't need a full-time energy manager, but they do need assistance and advice to know which energy efficiency measures to implement and to know how to go about actually implementing them in practice. So the SPEEDIER expert would provide that service as an outsourced energy management service. So at the start of the project, we carried out a survey of 84 SMEs in 4 different countries. We're testing the SPEEDIER service in 4 pilot countries: Ireland, Spain, Italy, and Romania. And although we we know that there are many barriers that SMEs face, and there have been previous studies that have identified those barriers. We wanted to just find out the current level of energy auditing in the market in those 4 countries and confirm that the main barriers that have been previously identified are still relevant to the SMEs that we're trying to work with. So we carried out an online survey, multiple choice questions. We asked a number of questions in the survey, and I'm going to talk you through the results from a few of those questions. So one of the key questions we asked was, does your organisation have an energy manager? And you can see that overwhelmingly in all of the countries, the answer is no. So this shows us that although energy is important and it is important to manage it in SMEs, there isn't anyone within the business who's looking at it specifically. Those that do have an energy manager often combine the role with another role within the business. Often that's a health and safety person or a quality management person. So energy is not getting a lot of attention within these businesses. We also asked, has your organisation had an energy audit in the last 5 years? And you can see again, overwhelmingly, the answer is no, they have not had an energy audit. Lots of people that we surveyed also don't know. I think this is an important result because it shows that although the Energy Efficiency Directive places this requirement on member states to provide support services for SMEs, what it shows is that either those services don't exist yet, or they do exist and SMEs don't know about them, or they exist and they're not really working. So it shows that despite the regulations and despite the policy that's in place, there is still room for more activity and more support for SMEs. And that's exactly where SPEEDIER comes in. We're looking at what kind of support mechanisms could be put in place by member states to support SMEs. SPEEDIER is not the only project looking at this. There are 3 other projects that were funded in the same Horizon 2020 call as us that are taking slightly different approaches, but all of us are looking at how can we assist member states to increase the uptake of energy audits. Moving on then, we asked SMEs, what is the main barrier to implementing energy efficiency measures in your company? This was a multiple choice questions where the SME could only select one answer. So really we were looking for really what's the main thing that's stopping you from implementing energy efficiency measures. And you can see that the answers vary depending on the country. So if you look at Romania, the majority of people are saying, well, it's lack of finance. We just don't have the money to invest in energy efficiency measures. If you compare that to Ireland, actually the situation is very different. And SMEs are saying, well, actually, it's a lack of knowledge. We don't know which measures to implement, or we don't know how to procure them, or we're not sure whether what we're being told is accurate enough, and we don't have the knowledge to be able to make those decisions. And Spain and Italy somewhere in the middle. Even though there are some clear preferences between the countries, I think what this shows is that actually there are many barriers, and the barrier that's considered to be the main one differs by SME. So it could be that different sectors have different barriers. It could be that different sizes of SMEs are more susceptible to one barrier than another. We also asked the SMEs whether they would be happy to outsource the energy management of their building to an energy expert. So really here we're trying to test the market to see whether they would be accepting or not of the possibility of outsourcing energy management to an external consultant. And again, you can see there's a real difference between the countries. Romania, for example, very happy to outsource the service, and in the majority of cases would even be happy to pay for those services. That's in stark contrast to Spain, for example, where actually 43% of respondents said no, they would prefer not to outsource. And again, differences between Ireland and Italy, where there is support for outsourcing, but actually more of those respondents would prefer the service to be free. So what this shows us is that it could be a solution to the problem to outsource energy management, but the service may need to be tailored by country or by sector, depending on the opinions and the attitudes within each region. We also carried out a similar survey with energy experts, and the main thing that I wanted to share with you was the opinion of energy experts, so auditors and consultants, on what they think are the main barriers that prevent SMEs from taking up energy efficiency measures. And you can see the results in these pie charts here. And you can see that for most countries, most energy experts consider lack of finance to be the main barrier. That's certainly the most popular answer in each of the countries. Now, I think this is interesting because it's a contrast to what we saw in the answers from the SMEs. And if we comparison for the same question between the answers that were received from SMEs and the answers that were received from energy experts, you can see clearly that there's a difference here. And I think this is really important because what it shows is that energy experts have this perception that finance is the main barrier that's preventing small businesses from taking up energy efficiency solutions. Whereas the reality is that the problem is much more nuanced than that, and that there are other barriers that may be influencing the SME's decision. I think this is a really important result because what it shows is that we need to change the approach that energy experts use when they talk to SMEs about energy efficiency projects. I used to be an auditor myself, and I used to go to SMEs and advise them on what kind of measures they should undertake. And often, what you do is you talk to them about the energy savings and the cost savings, and you try and present a really robust business case that says that they'll pay back the investment within 3 years. We often focus on that financial aspect because we incorrectly assume that that's the main barrier for the SME. But if that's not really the case, as these results show, then it might be more beneficial to change the approach and try to understand the strategic direction of the SME and the real range of barriers and range of concerns that they may have when they're considering these projects. So in conclusion then, just to wrap up, I think that what these results show is that the current policies that are in place that are designed to increase uptake of energy audits and increase implementation of energy efficiencies are not really working. And we see that in our results. We've compared our results with other projects that have done similar surveys, and they are comparable. So it's a problem not just in our study, but around Europe. And we've seen that outsourcing energy management might be one way that we can assist SMEs to better manage their energy consumption. What we also see is that the approach might need to be tailored to each member state. This could be due to cultural reasons, but it could also be accounted for by differences in the type of sectors that we approached in each country and the size of those businesses. We've seen that energy experts often have a different perception of where the main barriers to energy efficiency are compared to the reality that's experienced by the SMEs. And this could be preventing energy experts from really assisting SMEs in their progress. So I think that training energy experts in how to talk to SMEs about the wider benefits of energy efficiency and how energy efficiency projects could fit within the strategic direction that the SME wants to take could be a way of increasing uptake of energy efficiency measures. Thanks very much for listening, and I look forward to taking your questions later in the session.